Hello there, good evening and welcome to Look North. It's Friday, July the 5th and there's only one story tonight, a landslide victory for Labour. Labour's red wall is rebuilt as the party takes a string of Yorkshire seats back from the Conservatives.
I'm literally shaking. You can't, and I didn't take this for granted, so I'm unbelievably grateful to the people of Rotherham.
We'll be in West, North and South Yorkshire with all the analysis. Also tonight, misery for the Tories as they lose 15 seats and win their lowest share of the vote since 1950.
I actually fought hard to save the heart of our Conservative Party, but sadly, nobody listened. I could sense that a wake-up call was coming.
Tonight, Yorkshire MPs secure the top jobs in the new Labour cabinet. And history is made in Dewsbury and Batley, which elects its first independent MP since 1907.
And after today's pleasant conditions, something much more unsettled, I'm afraid, for the weekend. I'll be back later in the programme with a full look at the weekend and into next week as well.
Thanks for your company tonight. The political makeup has changed considerably across our region after a Labour landslide in the general election. Labour gained 13 seats while the Conservatives lost 15 seats and were wiped out in South Yorkshire and the North Midlands. There was a Liberal Democrat gain and the first independent candidate to win a general election seat in Yorkshire since 1907. 6 Labour MPs from Yorkshire have already been given senior positions in the new government, including Chancellor of the Exchequer, Home Secretary and Transport Secretary. So what's changed here? Let's take a look at the map after the 2019 election. Just look at all that blue when many of the so-called Red Wall Labour seats crumbled and went to the Tories. That map has now gone red again after last night's results, with Labour making gains in North Yorkshire, as well as rebuilding the red wall across West and South Yorkshire and the North Midlands too. There were no seats for the Reform Party, but they did receive 16% of the vote. Tonight we'll hear from our reporters who've been out across the region getting reaction. We start in South Yorkshire. Tom Ingle is in Barnsley this evening and it's all gone very red, Tom.
It has indeed, Amy. It used to be said in this part of the world, if you put a red rosette on it, it would get elected. Take a look at that map you've just shown tonight and you think, well, that's still the case. Right across the North Midlands, right across South Yorkshire, not a single Conservative left. The map is a solid shade of red. And even those places that flipped in 2019 have gone back into the Labour fold. But drill down a bit further. That rise in the Reform Party's vote has really pushed the Conservatives into third place in a lot of areas. Reform picked up thousands of votes, even though that did not translate into seats. I think it's true to say now that this part of the world is a much more politically febrile area than it was even a couple of decades ago.
In city and town, the countryside and peaks, South Yorkshire, North Midlands. Result after result renewed a sea of red on our electoral map.
I think it's a vote of confidence in the Labour Party, and it's humble to be sent back to Parliament to represent them. We take nothing for granted.
And I therefore declare that Sarah Deborah Champion is duly elected as a Member of Parliament for the Rotherham constituency.
I'm literally shaking. You can't, and I didn't take this for granted, so I'm unbelievably grateful to the people of Rotherham.
Rother Valley was a constituency which flipped blue at the last election. For the last 5 years, Alexander Stafford has been working to bring investment to the former mining area. It wasn't enough to hold the seat.
Do you think actually people did like the work Alexander Stafford did in the area?
I think, yeah, a lot of people did like it, yeah, because he seemed to get more done from Maltby, but it's just bigger picture, isn't it?
I just think that the Conservative Party have let people down for many years, and everybody lost faith in them, so I think that's why most people voted Labour overall.
Why didn't you vote? That's interesting.
Yeah, because I'm 72 and I never voted.
Why is that?
Just never bothered.
The rise of reform meant it wasn't plain sailing for Labour. Leader Nigel Farage visited Barnsley during the campaign, and when the exit polls were first published, it seemed they might even evict Dan Jarvis. It didn't come to pass.
I think some people had written my political obituary at about 10:05. We've secured a good big win here. I've doubled my majority. I'm really proud of that.
I'd go out purposely and knock on 10 doors and 6 or 7 people out of 10 would say we're voting Reform. So what went wrong? What did actually go wrong? Very low turnout. We expected a lot higher than that. Labour got the same number of votes as they got 5 years ago, so they've not improved on anything, at around 16,000.
There's an awful lot of Conservative voters out there that are unhappy with certain items, certain things that we've done or not done, and that vote has gone to Reform.
As we enter a new parliament, if there's one challenge every politician faces, it's falling turnout. There were many who told me today they didn't vote, or just don't believe promises will be kept. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North.
Let's have a look at West Yorkshire now. There have also been big gains for the Labour Party. Abijola takes up the story there.
Rachel Reeves was all smiles, arriving on Downing Street this afternoon. She'll be the country's first female Chancellor. She took centre stage on an historic night, retaining her seat in Leeds West and Pudsey.
What we've sought all the way through this election campaign is a mandate to grow the economy, to bring wealth creation and prosperity back to Britain, and that's what we campaigned on, and that's what I'm determined to do if I have the chance to serve as Chancellor in an incoming Labour government.
A cabinet job too for Pontefract, Castleford and Nottingley MP Yvette Cooper. She's Labour's new Home Secretary.
My first task as I go into the Home Office will be Labour's first steps, which means trying to get neighbourhood police back on our streets in our communities, and also setting up the new Border Security Command to go after the criminal boat gangs that are organising the dangerous boat crossings.
Veteran Labour MP Hilary Benn, who retained his West Yorkshire seat, formerly Leeds Central, now Leeds South, will join the Cabinet as Northern Ireland Secretary. Dame Andrea Jenkins lost the Leeds South West and Morley seat to Labour. Her 2019 majority of over 7,000 votes a distant memory.
I actually fought hard to save the heart of our Conservative Party, but sadly nobody listened. I could sense that a wake-up call was coming. I was unpopular amongst my colleagues for speaking the truth.
Labour also gained Calder Valley, Colne Valley and Ossett and Denby Dale. In Bradford West, another Labour majority was slashed, but Naz Shah kept her seat with only a majority of 700 votes, slashed from 27,000. Perhaps a reflection of the impact of the ongoing conflict in Gaza.
Gaza certainly does loom, and I will be certainly lobbying the party to move its position to support. I want to see that we look at the legal advice for an arms embargo. I would be looking at pushing the recognition of Palestine.
Iqbal Mohammed agreed the same issue played a part in his success. He's Dewsbury's first independent MP since 1907. Robbie Moore brought better news for the Conservatives over in Keighley and Skipton. Wetherby and Easenwald have Conservative Alex Shelbrooke. Just 2 blue seats for West Yorkshire, which is now overwhelmingly red. Abby Jayola, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Well, our political reporter Gemma Dillon joins us now. As we've just been hearing there, Gemma, some big hitters from our region will be taking roles in the Cabinet.
Absolutely. Lots of familiar Yorkshire faces we'll be seeing in there. As we just heard, 2 of the top jobs have gone to Yorkshire women in the form of the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, first woman to be appointed to that role ever, and of course Yvette Cooper, who's going to be the Home Secretary. So 2 top jobs for our women. There's also Hilary Benn, another Leeds MP. He's taking the Northern Ireland brief, and then we look down to South Yorkshire. We've got Louise Hay, one of the Sheffield MPs. She's got the transport brief. Ed Miliband, he's got the energy security and net zero job, and John Healy, he takes on the Defence Secretary. Now, they had these jobs in the shadow cabinet, and they've just really been moved straight across.
And we are expecting some more junior ministers to be announced in the next few days.
Absolutely. So these are the roles that sort of work underneath those jobs in the cabinet. For example, Barnsley MP Dan Jarvis, he had a security brief in the shadow cabinet under Yvette Cooper. So it's jobs like that that will get confirmed over the next few days, over the weekend. And I'm sure we can expect to hear a few more Yorkshire names in that set of people as well.
With us being so well represented in the cabinet, can we expect a little bit more cash to our part of the world?
It never harms, does it, to have some Yorkshire voices right at the heart of government, sort of explaining the problems, challenges we face and asking for a little bit more funding. I think what will be interesting is we've got 3 Yorkshire Labour mayors. The South Yorkshire Oliver Coppard and West Yorkshire Mayor Tracy Brabing quite well established, so they'll be pushing against a Labour government for a bit more power and a bit more funding.
Gemma, thank you. Go get some sleep. It's been a long night for you. In North Yorkshire, the Prime Minister held on to his seat, but the Conservatives lost 3 seats overall. 2 to Labour and 1 to the Liberal Democrats. Phil Bodmer is in Scarborough for us tonight, which now has a Labour MP. All yours, Phil.
Yes, that's right, Amy. This is the constituency of Scarborough and Whitby, taking in these rather wonderful resorts, and on a July evening like tonight, you can see why it's no finer place to be. Believe it or not, Amy, they've had only 2 MPs here since 1997. Laurie Quinn for Labour, and then in 2005 it was taken by the Conservatives by Sir Robert Goodwill. He's remained in post for 19 years, and then last year he announced he was going to stand down and wouldn't contest this election. But this has been quite a seismic change, because this traditional sea of Tory blue you can see here in Scarborough is beginning to change colour, not just here on the coast, but in other parts of the county too. The leafy village of Haxby in North Yorkshire, part of the York Outer constituency, it was a new seat in 2010 and forms a ring around Labour vote in York Central. Julian Sturdy's been its Conservative MP for the last 14 years, until last night.
We've seen 14 years of the chaos and dysfunction in Westminster for Conservative government, but people have also grasped our message of change in York Outer, and people on the doorsteps have bought into that. They've heard what we want to do to fix the NHS, get back on its feet, get the economy growing again. So the people of York Outer bought into our positive message of changing Britain and bringing our future back.
Well, York Outer is a collection of rather upmarket suburbs, like here in Haxby in Wigington, and Labour's gain saw the biggest increase in voter share of around 15%. So what do people make of last night's result?
Well, I know it's been Julian Sturdy in for the past 14 years, really, and I think we're ready for a change now, really. I myself, I voted for Labour this time. I voted for Luke Charters, and I'm a nurse. I work for the NHS, so I'm really backing Labour this time, and I'm hoping to see some positive change.
Very disappointed.
Just tell me why you're disappointed.
Because I didn't want a landslide. I thought the Tories needed a lesson, right? But I was hoping for a minority government in Labour. A landslide could, I think, be a total disaster for the country.
It's too much like fighting between themselves rather than fighting for the people, do you know what I mean? It's all about like getting one up on each other.
It was a similar story on the coast, with Labour taking Scarborough and Whitby, a long-standing Conservative seat. The new MP acknowledges politics needs to change for the better.
I'm going to be an approachable, visible and accessible MP, setting up an office here in Scarborough where people can come and see me and my staff, as well as going into the villages on a regular basis. I want to kind of change how people see having an MP here.
I hereby declare that Thomas Gordon...
Elsewhere, the Tories lost Harrogate and Knaresborough to Tom Gordon of the Lib Dems with an 8,000 majority. They held Richmond and North Allerton, Thirsk and Malton, Skipton and Ripon, and took the new seat of Wetherby and Easingwold. Politically speaking, North Yorkshire has traditionally been a sea of blue, but the winds of change have been in the air for some time. The challenges ahead are likely to mean it'll be anything but plain sailing. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North.
So it looked like a lovely evening in Scarborough, doesn't it? Let's have some analysis now of how people voted right across our region. David Rhodes has been crunching the numbers for at least 24 hours now. David, all yours.
What a remarkable set of results, Amy. These were the headline vote share figures for our region. Labour did the best, winning 42% of total votes across the region on Thursday night. Conservatives, they were on 23%. But the smaller parties have an interesting story to tell. The Greens won a bigger share of the vote than the Liberal Democrats, but the Liberal Democrats won 1 seat and the Greens didn't win any. The Liberal Democrat, as we've heard, is in Harrogate and Knaresborough. Reform UK won 16% of the votes across our region, but they didn't win any MPs in our region because their vote is spread out across our county. It is not concentrated enough in certain seats. Now, these are the areas where Reform did the best. They polled at around 1 in 3 votes in parts of Barnsley, but they also performed strongly across parts of West Yorkshire as well. For the Green Party, it was their best ever night. No MPs here in Yorkshire, but they came second in these 6 constituencies, winning 25% of the vote in places like Huddersfield and Sheffield Central. The first past the post system we have in this country makes it difficult for the smaller parties to get MPs elected, and we will hear more about that debate in the days ahead. I just want to put the Tory result into some historical context. In 1950, when the Tories were led by Winston Churchill, they got 29% of the vote in our region, 97, 33%, and last night, a record low, 23% of the vote share in Yorkshire. This man, he's on his way back to North Yorkshire tonight, and he has a lot to ponder. Amy.
He certainly does. David, thank you. Well, Labour's stance on Gaza has cost the party the Dewsbury and Batley constituency. In Bradford too, it had an impact on the share of the vote. We'll be live in Bradford in a moment, but first, Spencer Stokes has spent the day in Dewsbury.
An expression of astonishment. Parliamentary victories for independent candidates are few and far between, but last night saw Dewsbury and Batley elect one. The war in Gaza seemingly working against Labour in a seat with a large Muslim population. But the new MP puts victory down to a number of factors.
The big issue for the majority of the community was Gaza and the killing of innocent people there, but also the state of our towns, the poverty in our area and the lack of investment and government support over the last 15 to 20 years.
How will you cope as an independent, effectively on your own in Parliament?
So I don't believe I'm on my own. I have the whole community behind me and with me, and we're going to work together. I have worked in many different roles. I'm a very fast learner, and I believe there are many politicians of all parties that have similar common values.
Dewsbury was previously represented by Conservative Mark Eastwood, Batley by Labour's Kim Leadbeater, who was elected in neighbouring Spen Valley.
Who is the independent?
He's a chap called Ikbal Mohammed.
Okay. Oh, I have heard of that chap. So, well, good luck to him as well. Certainly in this area.
Refreshing, something new. It's what we all need, something new.
Drastic cuts at Labour-run Kirklees Council fed into the narrative here, adding to the ingredients for an upset. The warning signs for Labour were visible 2 months ago when 4 independent councillors won seats across Dewsbury and Batley at May's local elections. That group of independents are former Labour members. Politically organised, they had the knowledge and know-how to get Ikbal Mohammed elected. The new MP grew up on this street and attends the nearby mosque, returning today for Friday prayers and celebrations with jubilant supporters.
We've really come together and shown that we can vote for what we want, and I think it's a good result here.
Why do you think he won?
I think he won mostly because of Labour's foreign policy.
The response that we've had from the non-Muslim locality has been absolutely phenomenal. You know, Eastern European and other communities as well, absolutely insane. The belief is there, they can see it within the first 5-10 seconds.
Next week, Ikbal will head off to the House of Commons, swapping Dewsbury for debate and discussion in Parliament. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North, Dewsbury.
We're going to cross live to Bradford now, and our reporter Aisha Ikbal. Now, Aisha, you were in Bradford last night, weren't you, when MPs told you that Labour had a mountain to climb to win over the Muslim vote?
Thank you, Amy. Yes, indeed. Naz Shah, who you featured earlier, telling me exactly that. I put it to her that Labour has lost the trust of many Muslim communities over the last few months, over its early ceasefire stance, people unwilling to forgive Sir Keir Starmer in particular about some might say unfortunate comments that were made in the wake of the October the 7th attacks, and absolutely a lot of work to do in rebuilding relationships with the swathes of Muslim voters. Bradford West, a seat that has 58% Muslims, and for months they've been telling me that this is going to be a major factor in how they vote, and they are going to punish Labour in particular. Naz had her majority 27,000 slashed to just 707. That's astonishing by any standards. And the gentleman who was a big challenge, an independent councillor, Imran Hussain, as well in Bradford East, his majority slashed to 7,000 from 20,000. I put it to him, to Imran Hussain, you know, was Keir Starmer going to be welcome here? He said anybody is welcome here, but he too acknowledging that the Gaza factor remains an issue and a headache for Labour. Despite the rosy picture nationally, it's by no means going to be a rosy parliament for Labour.
Aisha Ikbal, thank you. Now, as you would expect, we did invite some new MPs to come and chat to us on the sofa tonight. We were told that neither Labour or Conservatives could put anyone up to talk to us, but we can speak to the new Liberal Democrat MP for Harrogate and Knaresborough, Tom Gordon. Very well done to you. Congratulations. Has it sunk in yet? How are you feeling, Tom?
No, it's definitely not sunk in quite yet. It's just so overwhelming, really humbling. You know, it's an honour of a lifetime to be elected to represent the people of Harrogate and Knaresborough.
Andrew Jones held your seat for 14 years for the Conservatives. What do you think swung it in your favour on a local level?
I think we have been running, you know, a number of campaigns on the ground over the last 18 months. There's been an incredible amount of hard work that's gone into it. We've been out 5 nights a week, knocking on doors, speaking to local people, picking up the issues and campaigning on them, whether it be trying to make sure there's more access to NHS dentistry or campaigning to get the money to repair the crumbling concrete of a local district hospital. And that's what cut through those local issues and that hard work.
And your party has won a record number of seats nationally. Is that a result that you were expecting?
I think we were all going into the election cautiously optimistic that we'd be making some gains. You know, we had our strategy of bunkering down and picking the seats we thought we'd win. And we went truly well above and beyond what I think anyone could have expected with a historic result for the Liberal Democrats.
And a bit of paddleboarding and bungee jumps thrown in there as well for good measure.
Yeah, fortunately I managed to avoid any bungee jumping myself. But yeah, I think, you know, the stunts that Ed Davey and the team had put together really cut through and really humanised Ed and the Liberal Democrats. And in a campaign where it was quite serious and quite depressing at times, I think a little bit of light relief really cut through and spoke to people.
That humanising that you must mention there is something that voters have told us that they did identify with, and you came into politics a similar way to Ed Davey, didn't you? You have the same values, if you like.
Yeah, so the day before I started my master's degree, my mum was diagnosed with breast cancer. Fortunately, she's fine and recovered now. She's even a counsellor in Wakefield. But it was that experience, sort of dropping down, doing my degree over 2 years to spend time at home and look after her and my little sister, is what motivated me to get involved, seeing, you know, that experience of how people have to struggle and cope when they've got long-term or chronic life-threatening illness, and the fact that there's not enough support there for people.
And so she's so proud of you. Very quickly, main priorities for the people of Harrogate and Knaresborough.
So it's continuing on with the campaigns we've already been running, trying to make sure we stop the sewage scandal, crack down on the water companies that are endlessly polluting the rivers, making there's more support for people with the cost of living, and of course health and social care is in need of massive investment.
Tom Gordon, congratulations once again and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Now, the general election has transformed the political landscape right across our region. Many Conservative MPs are now out of a job. Many Labour MPs will be starting new careers at Westminster. Let's get the highs and lows of the last 24 hours.
It is the honour of my life to be our Member of Parliament for Penistone and Stocksbridge.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Rotherham.
I hereby declare that Thomas Gordon is duly elected.
Overwhelmed, humbled, and yeah, it's a real honour to be elected to represent the people of Harrogate and Knaresborough.
On this difficult night, I'd like to express my gratitude to the people of the Richmond and Northallerton constituency for your continued support.
As a local boy who's grown up in the town, it's a huge privilege and it's absolutely humbling.
What a great result for us in the Romarsh and Conisbrough constituency.
People didn't just hope for that change, they voted for it.
Highs and lows politically, highs and lows on the weather front as well. Keely, come and join me on the sofa. I tell you what, you never know what to expect on Look North, do you?
It's all going wrong, isn't it?
It's all happening today, that's for sure.
It's all happening tonight. We've got a very dark screen over there, so we'll have a little weather chat instead.
Yeah,
because it's
so
been
what's
nice,
happening?
hasn't it?
Yeah,
It's
well,
been
today's
nice.
been lovely actually, and very different to what we saw in Westminster with the brollies out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had a weather system across the south, but we've had nicer weather in the north, and we've been up to 20 degrees in Sheffield and Bridlington. And I know you were badgering me in the makeup room because you want to know the weekend forecast.
I do,
because,
always.
You know, it's really difficult at this time of year because so many people have plans. So Saturday doesn't look good at all. It's cool, it's showery, and then Sunday we've got quite a few showers around as well, and both on Saturday and on Sunday there could be some heavy and thundery showers as well, and then we return, typical, to something a little bit nicer on Monday. So what's going to happen over the next few hours is the cloud is going to thicken from the south, and we've got some quite heavy and persistent rain spreading up from the south, mainly affecting eastern parts, probably central and eastern parts of Yorkshire as we head through the night. But there could even be the odd rumble of thunder, and temperatures will drop to around 10 or 11 degrees. And then in the east, that weather system could linger for a little while tomorrow morning before it becomes more showery. And then we've got further showers spreading in from the west. Some of these showers could be heavy and thundery. We might see a bit of an improvement through the afternoon, so we might see a bit of brightness, some sunshine, and certainly the showers will become a bit more hit and miss through the course of the afternoon. But I tell you what, we've gone from 20 degrees today, it'll be more like 15 or 16 tomorrow, so feeling very autumnal. 16 is only 61 in Fahrenheit. And then actually a fine night into Sunday. Sunday will start off with a good deal of dry and bright weather. We'll start to see those showers moving into western parts. They'll spread eastwards through the day, and some of those could be heavy and thundery. And then, as I mentioned earlier, just typical, just in time for us all to return back to work. It looks pleasant for Monday.
It is very typical, that, isn't it? I'll badge you on Monday about the weather for next week, because it's the Yorkshire show,
You can
isn't
always
it?
badge
So-
me, yeah. At the moment, it's looking a bit changed. Maybe something better later next week.
Keely, thank you very much. Well, that is it from us. A historical day politically in our part of the region. Lots more to come over our coverage over the weekend. Bye-bye for now.